Hello, this is Samadan, and today I'd like to go through what's been selling well for me over the past month, now that I have all professions available on Shadowlands and quite a few of them at quite an advanced state in some of the other expansions. I thought it'd be a nice return to have a look at each of the professions, see how well they're performing over the last month, and then talk about my plans for them in the future and see where I'm making my gold. One of the things I did at the start of February with each of my characters was give them a float money of 100,000 gold each. So you can see here all my characters and the amount of gold they have now at the end of the month. It's slightly later, we're on the 3rd of March at the moment, so we're a few days out from here, and you can see that most of my characters seem to have earned more gold than they spent, except for Bridget there, who's at 87,000 gold. Should be at least 100,000 gold. I'll have a look at that in a moment. Everyone else though, Almorte, my blacksmith, is at 138,000. Earthen, my leatherworker, at 130,000. Hellfire is the kind of the person who's been keeping hold of all the excess gold. 882,000 she has at the moment. Awakening, my alchemist, 129,000, and then Samadan there, currently at 139,000. So they've all earned. Oh yes, and Samadan, of course, my Scribe, 113,000. They've all earned roughly about 30,000 gold over the course of the last month. So combined all together, if we have a look at our TSM graph, we can see here, this is summary after the last month, so starting here at 1.47, almost 1.5 million, and we are up to 1.625 million here. So for 30 days we are looking at total profit 156,000. Now normally I like to have a target of at least a token a month, and we are here at a token price of 187,000. So that is less than a monthly token, so less than I would like. But however, that's not the whole picture, because we have been spending some gold. I've been working my way into the legendary crafting for tailoring, so I spent a fair amount of gold getting that set up. In fact, I spent well over 100,000 gold getting started on that, and I don't expect to see any kind of return on those, if at all, until the future. And then obviously you could see on Bridget there, she's got less than 100,000, so she spent a bit more on there. I suspect that's down to the materials needed for the panthers. I might have spent more on there. I'll check on her ledger in a moment. So that's kind of like the overall progress of where I'm at in my gold making. If you compare that to, say, 3 months ago, where we were down here at 500,000 roughly, and 6 months ago, this is my start of Shadowlands journey, so we are almost back up to where I started with Shadowlands. But obviously we're in a position now with all of our professions maxed out and earning money in their own right. So hopefully we can only go upwards from here. Fingers crossed. So let's have a look at Samadan and see how he's been getting on. So the main things, we'll look at the revenue here, we'll look at just the auctions, and I'm going to look at just Samadan here. I'm going to filter this by each profession, so I'm going to look at enchanting first and select that group, and we can see the kind of sales we've had over the course of the last 30 days. So we can see we've got a good number of Eternal Agility sold. This is the rough amounts we've had for them. There were 6 of them sold there, 5,000, so there's actually more there. Speed of soul, occasional ones here. The good thing about enchanting is you could have a good breadth of enchants that do sell. Fortified Leech, a few of those. Shadowlands Gathering, a few of those. Not very high profit margins on those, to be honest. And then Tenets, they seem to be quite good at the moment, although multiples of those at any one time. Tenets of Haste is a consistent seller for me, as well as the others, Mastery and Versatility. Celestial Guidance I find sells quite well, 171 profit on that one. And then some of the older things like Crusader and Dancing Steel, you tend to get less frequent sales with the old enchants, but when they do sell, they sell for a good amount, like Dancing Steel, a 900 gold profit there. And then Sinful Revelation, that's a tricky one, because of the Eternal Crystal price always going down and down and down at the moment. So we're currently at a small profit for that at the moment. I did buy out a large stock of that early on, and so I've probably made a little bit of a loss on those. And then Tome of Illusions is always a good one. I get generally consistent sales of those. Light step hoof plates, that's an interesting one if you're following the monolite ore market. That's going to be interesting because obviously you need mono hardened hoof plates to make that. So it'll be interesting to see the price of this, whether it's going to rise or not. But I do get the odd sale of those. I've sold 80 in total, average price of 1,500, but currently going for a good 2,000 at the moment on my server. So a good spread of enchants looking at that. Let's have a look at tailoring. And here obviously tailoring is doing well with the bags. Lots of deep sea bags sold there. Shirts, always a good one. Sometimes you get some good prices of those. The blue lumberjacks, workmen's, those are all over 1,000 gold, and these cost literally nothing to make as well. 12 gold, 1 gold to make, so those are almost pure profit, so those are great. Frostweed bags, that's an occasional one at quite a good price as well. Hexweed bags, the price of hexweed bags has gone down a fair amount. Lightless silk pouches, again depending on the price of your lightless silk, that seems to be plummeting at the moment. So you can possibly make a little bit of a profit there. About 400 gold on my server at the moment. Netherweave bags, I like to do those just for fun, really more than anything else. You don't get a huge amount of profit out of those. And then we've got a few of these. I think some of these are going to be 168 gear. You can't really tell in this tooltip, I don't think, at the moment. But looking at the prices of those seem to be more 168 gear. And the tunic there, there's a difference there. You can see 806 for one and 3,000 for another. I suspect this one's a 168, and this one is the regular version. Few shrouded cloth bags vary quite wildly in prices there. Per item is about 140 though, so that's about right. And then some of this is the high level 87 gear with the novice crafter's mark on them. All these ones that are 1,000 gold are the ones that are the much higher price, and then the ones at the tiny price are the ones that are just the default crafting method, so various item levels on those. So those are selling, not as much as I usually get with leatherworking, but to be fair, I haven't been keeping on top of these markets, so I ought to double check on those. But 140 items sold, 101,000 gold total on that. I didn't see what enchanting was. Let's have a quick look at that. So that's about the same, 106,000 total. That's just the sales numbers, that's not profit. And then cooking's a strange one for me at the moment. I've not been selling much in cooking for a long time. Now, this is mainly down to me not really being on top of all the materials that go into this, and I haven't really been on top of the market, which is why I've only got 14,000 in sales. I have heard a lot of people saying they've had loads of success with cooking, so one of my tasks for the next month is to look into that in more detail. But overall, I would say Samadan's doing pretty well. Let's have a look at just his gold. I spoke too soon. Samadan is doing pretty well. We want to look at this on the monthly mark there. So over the last month he's doing pretty well. We have spent a fair amount here. You see this big expenditure here, this drop from up to 112,000 down to 0 here was when I bought a whole load of arboreal shards and enchanted lightless silk in order to get started in the legendary base items. So my progress so far has not been that great yet, but I'm still at early days. You can see here I'm using TSM 4.11 alpha, so it's giving me an extra column here under the rank. And you can see one of the things I have ranked up is the Grim-Veiled Cape. This is where I've been putting all my money. We are currently at rank 3, so I don't really expect to see a huge amount of return until we start getting the rank 4s, and even those I think I'm going to have a lot of competition. Eventually I would like to get everyone up to rank 4, just so that I'm ready should anything new come out with the future patches. But I can see myself spending a lot of gold on these. Also, we're in the middle ground here with TSM 4.11 alpha. Once it gets more developed, we'll be able to do crafting of these much more conveniently. At the moment we can still put the different ranks on here, and you can see the different crafting costs available to those, but when you hover over you're still seeing just the top crafting cost, which is 6,000. So it's still very much early days yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with that in the future. So that's where a lot of my money has been going. So that's Samadan. Let's pop over to the other characters and have a look at how they're getting on. Now Goldmaking is in a precarious position at the moment. We are in the midst of farming up a vowed reputation We are working our way through that. We are currently, with our reputation with the Avowed, we are currently friendly, and we need to get to Honoured, because we are looking for, with Alchemy, on the Unlearned tab, we're looking for this Shade Stone Transmute. That's what's going to hopefully give us a few extra profits. The prices on that are about 1,000 to 2,000 gold at the moment, so hopefully we'll be able to add that into our list of things that we can craft in the future. In the meantime, Alchemy is doing quite well. It tends to have big peaks and big troughs as you have to buy quite a lot of herbs and then make those into potions and sell those at a good time. So you want to make sure you buy your herbs nice and cheaply and then sell them at a later date at a much better price, obviously on raid nights and things like that. If we look at the dashboard for Goldmaking here, we can see that it's got a nice steady rise, but it's plateaued over this period. I've not really played a lot in this last week, so that explains that. You really need to keep on top of it. Best top item, of course, being the Spectral Flask of Power, biggest purchase being the Marrow Root. Then if we have a look at the ledger, so here we have all our sales. We've got a few of the BFA sales, they came through early, still getting a few occasional, 1-2 days ago on those. I haven't been restocking on those in a while though. Lots of Potion of Phantom Fire there, 153 of those, quite a few days ago since we last had some sales of those. And then the Potion of Spectral, different abilities there. Shadow Core Oil, another one added, varied prices there, depending on the stack amounts, about 30 gold there. The Spectral Flask of Power, that's another good seller. And then quite a few healing potions as well, we've sold quite a few of those. So in terms of total sales, it's coming out at 285,000, but our expenses is going to be quite high, I imagine, if we look at those. If I go on to expenses, for this character, you can see in Alchemy we have quite a lot of expenditure here, 227,000. So whilst the numbers look high, you can see there's a big balance between the two of your purchases and your revenue. But currently we are in the profit side of things, so that's always good. And we can just keep on posting more often and more frequently at the right times, and we'll be able to get better sales through that. So plans for Goldmaking is to collect up these unlearned recipes we don't have. Crafter's Mark not really needed in this case, so it's really the Shade Stone that I'm focusing on here. Might go for this red noggin candle in the future as well. That could be quite fun to have to complete our collection. So that's Goldmaking. Let's move on to our next character. Now, Samadan, my Scribe. He's kind of nestled here amongst all the other Rutasaurs here in Oribos. I must admit, first and foremost, I have neglected Inscription a fair amount. The fact that we're at 13,000 gold, to be honest, is quite the miracle. Let's have a look at what he's been doing. So we have gone from just under 94,000, where we must have spent some gold on Dark Moon decks. I think we did have a Dark Moon deck sale, and then all the way up here at 114,000. Looking at the ledger for you, looking at the sales, and just look at an inscription here. So not a huge amount, 35,000 all we have in sales here. And looking at those, we do have a few sales of Glyph of the Swift Chameleon and Spectral Raptor. I really don't have enough glyphs on the market at the moment. I haven't entered those markets at all. You can see here my missives. I don't have a huge number of sales here either because I've not really been focusing on those. We do have a Highborn Compendium sale, which is 8,000. That's pretty decent. That's a good, mainly all profit at that price as well, which is really good. A newly departed codex as well. The main thing is it's quite a competitive market here, and I really haven't been on frequently enough and posting everything as much as possible on this character. So Inscription it's got potential. I just haven't really spent time on it, which is why we're only seeing small amounts on this character. Things to do here will be obviously go through, especially Legion glyphs, go through and start collecting those up and adding them to my roster and making sure I'm a bit more competitive with my missives and getting those done. I think I'm a long way off of getting the reputation I'd need for contracts or things like that, so in terms of unlearned recipes I still have all of the contracts that I haven't done. Obviously this Vantus Rune Castle Nathri is going to be a long way off as well. I'm not even level 60 yet, I'm still level 51, so I like Samadan. He's a great character to play, so I think I'm going to have to give him some more love to be able to get him to a state where he's contributing a bit more to the gold pot. So I'll leave him parked for now and then carry on to the next character. Oh my, the Brutosaurs are multiplying. There's even more now. Now I remember whilst I was logging on why Bridget is down at 87,000. It's because I invested in one of the pets from engineering. I was going to make it, and I realised that I could buy it and resell it on. So if we look at Bridget here, we were at 100,000. We were making a steady increase with our dual crafting sales. Occasionally have a big sale of something that's probably a panther, and then we invest into the materials for the next panther. And then here was my other big purchase. So if I have a look at my ledger for this, if I look at engineering and dual crafting, you'll see them together, because engineering I don't have a great deal of sales. In terms of sales here, we've got the Deadly Lace Stripe Band and a few Kraken's Eyes, so a good mix of different bits and pieces for dual crafting. Versatile Lace Stripe Band, so they're all ticking through quite nicely with just like small profits per item, so nice steady consistent sellers. Haven't really bothered with Goblin Gliders actually. I must remember to get back into those, because those are always good sellers. So I don't have any big mount sales here other than the Ruby Panther, which you saw there in my graph. So that sale was a nice one, but obviously then I had to rebuy things to get into that. Then if we look on my expenses side of things, so this was my expenditure here, the Rascal Bot, 19,000 gold. So I bought that for 19,000 gold because there's two versions of them. The one here, which is the teaches you how to summon, and then the one that's the actual pet itself. And so I bought this one for 19,000 with the hopes of actually selling the pet on for more, because the price of the pet itself is like 30 to 40,000 as opposed to 19,000. So hopefully if I do make a sale of that, I'll make myself a nice 10,000 profit. I've also invested in getting a Pierre, and I've got one of those listed on as well. So making use of my Yard's peculiar energy source, making sure I do that every day, has been very beneficial. We'll have a Sky Golem at some point soon as well, so that'll be quite nice. So that explains why there's a drop there, and we're at 87,000 gold. We've been investing for the future. But hopefully things will come through. In order to do better with this, I need to get some more BFA engineering mount recipes. I think that would be pretty good. And also we need to just make sure that we're on top of all the dual crafting restocks and things like that. So there's a few different bits and pieces to do on that front, but nothing that's not stopping me from just trickling through some gold with my current sales. And then get the occasional mount sale, which is really good and nice in terms of big chunks of gold. So here we are with Irfan, my leather worker. Now what are we at here? We are at 30,000 profit since the start of last month. So that is a good steady income. Let's look at what that's been on Irfan. So a nice steady increase over there. Looking at the ledger, if we look at just leatherworking, if we look at leatherworking here, so we have, just deselect that and just look at auctions for the moment. So we've got a few different bits and pieces here. So all the Desolate Leather leggings you can see here are 1,000 gold, or all the markup ones, gauntlets at 997, and then the ones that are very small profit margins are down here at 149. Haven't had any recent sales on these simply because I haven't really been keeping on top of the markets as well. I think this kind of reflects the overall theme here. I was very busy in the last couple of weeks of February, so I didn't post on nearly as frequently as I was posting on at the beginning of February, and therefore you can see that a lot of my sales have dropped off since then. You can't make money if you haven't got your auctions listed. But this is a nice money maker for me at the moment when I do get the sales. Is the upgrade to the item level 87 gear with the Novice Crafter's Marks is well worth it, definitely. We've got a few different bits of shade-bound gear as well thrown in there. No Crafter's Mark 2 here yet. I'm still only level 51 here, so I've got a lot of leveling to do on this character. And then start grinding out the Venari rep. I may consider dropping skinning and picking up something like tailoring so that I can get the cheaper Crafter's Mark 2 through tailoring, rather than using the more than the expensive one you get with leatherworking. But that depends on the price of callous hide. Once I get to that point, I'm still a long ways off there. And then at some point in the future we will start on the legendary base items as well, but I've got a long way to go there too. Now I'll mortar my blacksmith. Again, he's at about 138,000, so actually done pretty well, I would say, looking at blacksmithing. Let's have a look at what that translated to in terms of actual sales. So a good steady rise from 100,000 up to 136,000, and then plateaued where I didn't play so much. And then if we have a look at the ledger here, looking at this, we have a nice long range of different ceremonious gear, all at different, over like 1,500 price points for a lot of these. Breastplate there are even at 2,300. A few others at the smaller regular prices here, so I really need to stay on top of the Novice Crafter's Mark gear to make some serious money here. We have a few occasional Shadow Steel sales as well. So overall though, that is a good steady amount, 43,000. In terms of expenses, I don't think I really have a lot. Yeah, not much at all really. 12,000 in some selenium ore, some monolite ore. Interesting to see the price of monolite ore go up over time. It's currently at 13 gold. I bought mine for roughly sort of 10 gold, so the price of that may go up, but that's not necessarily a big problem for me at the moment. Just going to make sure I make use of the other ore that I get hold of and make sure I get it at a decent price. So I've made some good sales here, looking forward to continuing this in the future. Just got to make sure I stay on top of these Novice Crafters Mark, especially as they have to be done manually. You don't get quite so many people in these markets as you do with some of the other stuff. So there we have it, a overall whistle-stop tour of all of my professions and how well they've been doing. Samadan seems to still be the strongest in consistent sales, probably because I spend the most time on that character. That's always the first one I make sure I restock on and relist my auctions. Sometimes I don't have enough time to go through all of my alts, and therefore they suffer in terms of auctioning time. So Samadan tends to do quite well, and also I have the most breadth in both enchanting and tailoring compared to my other professions, so there's a lot of other options there. The eventual goal is to spend more time on each character and make sure that they have the breadth of their professions all kitted out so that they're ready to capitalize on any markets that emerge, as well as having consistent sales that add up over time. So whilst my total gold is less than a token, it's still profit, and that's good for me for the moment. I would like to go back over token price again though. That will be my next target for March, as well as making sure that I start filling in those gaps that I've already identified in some of my markets, and then start to make sure that I'm more consistently listing on each day so that I'm making sure that my auctions have a chance of selling. But as always, it's been a fun journey. I'm really still enjoying Shadowlands. Samadan here is up to item level 197, so pretty well kitted out for someone who's not really doing any mythic dungeons or anything like that. That would be the next logical step for me as a player. I'm going to focus on getting my alts up to a different level at this point now. I also want to make sure that I keep my renown level up with Samadan so that he's ready to capitalise on flying once that arrives. Still lots of content ahead. Patch 9.05 is around the corner, maybe even a week or two. Not going to be a huge difference to gold making at that point. I think we'll all be waiting for 9.1. I'm interested to see what happens with the whole legendary base crafting between now and then. We've got time though to work on our characters, make sure that they're all leveled up and ready, and then we'll be in a good position to carry on making our gold. As always, we want to make sure that we're having fun and enjoying the journey as much as the end result. Having all these little goals in the meantime helps us focus our attention and make sure that we're progressing to our next level. Eventually, yes, I would like to get to gold cap. I think that would be a nice little target. Not necessarily gold cap on one character, but gold cap total. And then I could start filling out and doing gold cap for every character. But that's a long way off for the moment. I'm still having a huge amount of fun here. We've also got the Lightbringer crew, my NA adventures on Let's Play. They're doing very well at the moment. Just started getting into professions there, so please do check out that series on my playlist on my channel. As always, my groups and operations are all available over on my Patreon. That is a fantastic way for me to both support you by giving you access to things like my groups and operations, and also for you to be able to support the channel. So support over there is really, really appreciated. So thank you all. That makes it all so much more possible making videos like this in the future. And if you have any questions, please do put a comment below or ask in my Discord. Plenty of helpful people there will happily answer your questions. I'm looking forward to seeing what March brings. Going to be an interesting month, I think. Lots of development on my other characters. I just have to make sure I avoid chasing too many squirrels and going down rabbit holes. So until next time, happy gold making, and I'll see you very soon.